interaction. So the first question I had was, can they relate to the fact that you're afraid of failure, you're an overthinker, you find yourself almost being like a tactician on your future, and you're always trying to navigate and even be like a chess player with your life, and you find yourself getting to the point of not even able to think anymore. And that's why we're doing this discussion, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are struggling. And we're trying to use this medium to reach more people. This is 2019. We need to, I can look out the window and we'll look at cars go by. This is 2019, and we need to know that people just can't get to a campus, can't get to a house for a home study, can't even get to a Dunkin' Donuts if we're talking about Dunkin' Donuts. We're going to meet at Panera Bread like we have in New England. So no matter where you are, I want to try to facilitate some sort of discussion. And hopefully next week, maybe you all can join me like this, and whether it's on Facebook Live or whether it's on Zoom, where we can be more active. So why do we fear failure? So that's a question for many of you. So I'm sure you always wonder that, and it's because honestly we don't want to fail. We plan so much, we're so concerned. We don't want others to see us in a state of defeat. Sometimes it's it's kind of an ego thing. I don't want to see people fail. Not only do I not want to fail, but I don't want to see people see me fail. And more than anything, we don't want to endure the anxiety of recovering from any kind of disappointment. And there's so many things in our lives that we fail from, isn't there? In a couple of weeks, we're going to spend a whole evening on fear of failure. That's because it's real. And I think everybody has a certain element of fear of failure, but some of us really get heartsick, even if we anticipate something might not go the way we planned it. My heart is being here with you. I guess since you're here, maybe you certainly can relate to some of the things I'm talking about, or maybe you have that experience, or maybe you're even in the midst of it right now, and that's why you're hanging out with me tonight. Maybe you find yourself in the midst of like rejection, and you're struggling with that. And before I take a moment to pray in case we're cut off, I wrote this online. If you haven't gone to the site, it's on Facebook. It's an event, Overcoming Obstacles. If you're already struggling, and I'm cut off tonight, and all this electronics, I get hit by a lightning bolt at my house, you need to cry out to God. You need to get into His Word. You need to seek Him for confidence and self-worth. You are a child of the King. You have self-worth. I don't need to give you that. You don't need to hear from me to tell you that, but you need to get confidence. And where are you getting that? You're going to get that from God. You're not getting that from me, and you're not getting that from anyone else. And the other thing is, I'm always here. I'm an ultra communicator. Most of you know me. I am on social media for a reason, because I like to communicate. And the second thing, I care about you so much that I do not want to neglect people. And I'm afraid that if I neglect people, that they're going to suffer. And I don't want you to suffer. When you're called by God to exhort or build people up, I should say, be an encourager, then you don't want to let go of people. Okay? And that includes whether it's my children, or whether it's my children that I watched grow up at church, or whether it's the children like I grew up with in New Jersey, or whether it's the kids I was in the Navy with across this country. There's so many elements. There's my family, who's all the way up and down the East Coast and across the country and overseas in England. These are people that I'm always concerned about. So we do not want to neglect these people, right? So let's pray and then we'll get started. God, I thank you for this time. I thank you for the opportunity through this crazy medium of Facebook Live and Zoom. I'm simulcasting. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know if it makes any sense going through the airwaves, but God, I know you can change things. You can change people. You can mobilize people with your spirit of the living God. In your name we ask this. Amen. So Abraham Lincoln said this, I'm not concerned that I have fallen. I'm not concerned that you have fallen. I'm concerned that you will arise. And that's the bottom line. I can test to 59 years that life never seems to go the way it is. And it's more of not really a comedy, but it's sometimes a comedy, and sometimes it's more of a tragedy. That's life. Life experience is a constant, never-ending, shifting of successes and failures. And sometimes those successes and failures occur in the same moment, right? You can measure it. Oh, this part was successful and this thing didn't work out so well. So to be human is to fail. We need to know this is true from personal experience. Maybe you already know. If you're older like me, you already know. Sometimes we fail. I was watching, and I know you look behind me and see the Star Wars stuff. I had to laugh when Yoda said to Luke, failure is the best teacher. The reality is failure is a big teacher. God usually failure uses it. So we experience hardship both because of our faults and because of the fault of others sometimes. Sometimes it's not even our fault, but we seem to experience hardship. And is that okay? You know, if I had more people on the Zoom, I could interact, right? Right? We need to know that it's okay. It's okay. You know, we fail in the small things, staying on a diet. Maybe I was going to run this 5K this year, and it's now almost August, and I haven't done that, right? Or maybe I'm going to keep a written New Year's resolution. I don't do it. Or controlling the clutter in our own homes. These are things that sometimes we fail about. But we do fail in larger things, overcoming addiction. Sometimes we have to find employment. Sometimes we have trouble holding on to important relationships, right? So these are failures that negatively impact the rest of our lives sometimes, right? Trying to keep a marriage together, persuading a child to make better choices. I always say to people, and my son's on this, so I'm not like talking behind at least one of their backs. Adult children, adult problems, right? We never disconnect with our children, right? Even when they're 30, even when they're 21, even when they're in between, right? We need to sometimes struggle with our children, and we have hardship with that. Sometimes we have to overcome a lifetime of debt for whatever reason. We're underemployed, we're unemployed, and we have a medical thing that buries us, right? We don't have the means or the funds to pay for our bills. And all these setbacks, whether large or small, there is an opportunity to grow. I know that sounds crazy. I'm like, Jim, that's a cliche, and I hate when you do that, or I hate when anybody does that. But the fact is, you know, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. You know, what you can grow from, what you can lean on, right? There's always a glimmer of hope, and it always remains. And by the way, in the midst of that, so do you. So why that glimmer of hope is there, you're still in the game. Some of the most influential people in my life cemented their legacy through their failures. How can I say that? My mother was divorced after 33 years. That's pretty crazy. I don't think Alan's on. My stepfather's married to my mom's best friend, right? Life has crazy twists and turns, right? It should never come as no surprise, right? That in the midst of failure, there's a glimpse of hope. And after all the inspirational stories that's ever been written or lived, perhaps, there is always triumph and weakness, right? But in the end, there's triumph. There's triumph even over loss. If you've lost a friend lately, if you've lost a loved one lately, I was just reading, breaks my heart. I had a shipmate lose a child this week. How to outlive your child. I'm going down to New Jersey in a couple of weeks to Mrs. Piper's memorial service. She buried her oldest son when I was a little boy. How do you outlive your child? That is hard, and that follows you all your days of your life. But in the midst of that, she had 5 other children that she needed to pour into, Mrs. Piper did. And she lived a very beautiful life, including joining Joanne and I in England for our wedding. That's crazy to me. So I'm like another child to her. So failure is a necessary part of a life, and we wouldn't be as wise if we didn't allow it to change or to shape us. Okay, how then can we redeem each failure for good? Right. So I had a question here, and because we're not really interacting here. And like I said, my one child in here, Andrew, is probably the most introverted of my 5. So I'm not going to be asking him to chime in here verbally. because he would be embarrassed just like his mother would as well. So as I'm talking, think of some examples of troubles that you've overcome to date. I'm asking you troubles you've overcome, troubles that you've had trouble with. And when you look over your shoulder, I've always told my children this, look over your shoulder. What happened? Look at you. You're still on your feet. Look at you. You're okay. Look at you. You got another car. Look at you. You're in a better employment situation. Look at your life in spite of the fact that that thing back there was awful, right? Awful. So I looked this up. This is, believe it or not, CRISPR Runa is a investment firm, and they catalog 30 major causes of failure. Now, these people are talking about financial. I'm going to run through these really quick. Unfavorable hereditary background. I don't even know what that means, but maybe some of you do. I was thinking of a friend of mine I grew up with who grew up in a very rough family in my town of Somerdale. By the way, we're a lower middle class neighborhood in Somerdale, New Jersey, and that young man is got a beautiful child. She's attending University of Pittsburgh today, and you might say, well, he had a terrible hereditary background, yet he overcame that. You know, a lack of well-defined purpose in life. I hope you have that. If you don't, you know, come hang out with me. I'll try to help you find God and find a purpose in life. God has, believe it or not, defined a plan and purpose for each one of you individually. I always tell children like this. I hold my hand up. I say, look at those fingerprints. You know, God has a individual purpose just as unique as those fingerprints on your hand for you, and it's so true. But people feel that way, and they feel like they're failing because they have this lack of well-defined purpose, lack of ambition to aim above mediocrity. You get terrible, right? If you get stuck in ruts. I work for the government, and I saw Jackie was on here earlier. One of my former workmates. She now works for the government herself, and I'm a contractor still. But the fact is, you see a lot of people slide into mediocrity, and they don't have ambition. I don't have ambition to climb. I have ambition to keep the people in uniform well provided for. We call it sustainment. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about sustaining your life with something more profitable that's above mediocrity. You can't just settle anymore. We've got to strive for what's best for you, for your children, for your husband, for your wife, for your grandchildren. Maybe you're raising your grandchildren. Some of you are suffering because you have insufficient education. Life was hard when you were young. Your parents couldn't pay for your education, or you just couldn't afford loans. I've watched kids go through crazy astrinations about their finances. They've left school. They've had to regroup back here in New England when they're elsewhere. God has a plan, and we have to trust that he's going to take care of it, and he does. Lack of self-discipline. We get off on tangents. We start doing crazy things. We don't have control. We start just not doing what we should be doing, and that does cause a lot of obstacles to our success. I mentioned this earlier, ill health. No person you can't control this. You can't control your health if you get really ill, but what you can control is what you're eating. Better to eat things that are healthy, not get into bad habits. I love cake, by the way. I do confess to people I am a cake addict. I've been on keto off and on for over a year and a half now. I'm more on a 40 carbs today, but if you put a piece of cake right here, I'm eating it. It's a bad habit. You've got to get away from those bad habits. You got to get away from things that can cause ill health. You know, lack of proper physical exercise, all that. Inadequately, don't get out in the fresh air. I always tell people, go outside. I sit in a building all day. Go outside and stand on the sidewalk for 6 minutes. Take a mental health 5 minutes in the sun. I don't care what kind of time of year it is. I don't care if it's snowing. Get outside and get some air. Unfavorable environmental influences during your childhood. I talked about that one young man. A twig is bent, so shall the tree grow, right? That's a saying. If you're in a bad situation, you're bad. So you're getting a point. Procrastination, lack of persistence, negative personality, lack of a controlled sexual urge, uncontrolled desire for something for nothing, lack of well-defined power of decision. These go on and on and on. The point is, if we're allowing ourselves to be carried off by superstition and prejudice, if you're allowing yourself to be carried off by something, you're going to get yourself into problems, and you're going to have obstacles you're going to have to overcome. So we need to know that even though this was talking about bad business decisions, I'm sure you can relate to some of these in yourself, or you, or maybe a loved one or a good friend. And if you're the body of Christ, if you're the church, right? Illness. If you're the church, you are in the game for everyone. It's not we should send people down the street to the state all the time. We need to be in the game. We need to be helping people. We need to be caring about people, like our family, no matter where they are. We need to be caring. I just spent a long weekend with my family, many of which I have not seen in many, many years, right? So we need to be in the game. I said to the people who helped coordinate this, we need to be providing relationship for the people we just met. Not just the people we've known forever. There are people of multi-generations, need to be helping people. Tonight I want you to see in the coming weeks that there's good news, and I'm going to give you a quick good news before we close tonight. And I expect these sessions to be anywhere from 20 minutes to a half an hour to an hour. It's no set time. If this Zoom thing is full, right, I will be stopping. People will be sharing things with me, right? I will be listening to people. The whole goal is in relationship is to have a two-way conversation. So don't be hung up on the time. Right, I'm going to try to post this video somewhere, maybe YouTube. I'm recording it, so we're gonna try to do that. So I'll put the link up on my Overcoming Obstacles page. So here we go. An encouraging guide to overcoming failure. I admit that we experience it. Despite failure, our world goes to great lengths to hide it. People always have it, and people always will. And our default position is often to downplay our weaknesses. But those who find growth in failure begin by simply admitting it exists in your life. Find people that you can trust. I am not telling you to go to everybody and tell them your problems. That's a mistake. But there are people you can trust. There are people that will have your back. There are people that will keep their counsel to themselves, meaning that if you said something to me, I'm not going to now go to even my wife, believe it or not, and tell her that you shared with me that you're struggling in something. Unless you said, please tell Joanne. I'm not doing it. Find that person. They're there. If you don't have that person, come see me. Call me. Text me. If you have my phone number, call me. If you don't have my phone number, IM me on Facebook. I will get back to you, and I will sit there, and we will chat, and we will do whatever you need. If you're not a believer, I'm not forcing God down your throat. I'm just saying, we'll just hang out, okay? We'll just hang out. We'll talk. I got this thing. It was my mother's thing. It's mine now. I see it in my children. They listen to people. They're sounding boards. I will be there for you. I promise. Mm-hmm. There are people that I call every 2 or 3 days on my way home from work. I'm stuck on 128 for hours. Trust me, I have lots of dead time. Okay? Call me. We got to recognize failure is common. And because we know it and we all experience it, we find comfort knowing we're not alone. You're not alone. I'm talking about that now. You're never alone. We look for personal responsibility. If there's something that you've done to do this, you've got to accept it. Stop trying to blame others. Stop trying to blame uncontrollable factors. If you can admit there's something that you're doing, all right, then admit it. And then we'll start to deal with that. Take personal responsibility and take the next steps to move away from whatever's causing your issues. Okay? Socrates said this. Socrates, look at this. I thought this was a Christian thing. The unexamined life is not worth living. God says, bring your stuff into the light, right? Bring your stuff into the light. God can deal with it there. If you keep it hidden way down here and you don't bring it to me, you don't bring it to God, he can't deal with it. He can't deal with it. When failure occurs, and it always will, the wisest of the journey inward is determine the cause and then bring it outwards. Okay? You can look at it inward, you can examine it, but you need to bring it out and learn to champion your situation through some sort of humility. And nobody, if they're your good friend, nobody is going to judge you if they're your good friend. If they're not your good friend, they're going to judge you all over the place. Find that friend. There's a friend there. I got friends I'm watching pop up on Facebook. I know right now I could go to right now. Some of those people I have only seen once in the last 25, 30 years. God rides people when you need them. They're there. We grow through pain. We live in a society that's passionately committed to avoiding pain, but there's a benefit to be found in discomfort. Why do I say? Stress causes the ability to respond to the Spirit of God. If you have stress, it gives you that opportunity. I need to respond to God. Where am I going to take my stress? Right? Where am I going to take my pain? I need to take that somewhere. And encourage anybody to intentionally not seek pain, but seek God while you're in the failure. And this, something will change. Something's going to change in you. Okay? And I love you, by the way, too. I just saw you say that. Thank you. You've always been too kind. When it does, it's okay because it's going to teach you stuff. It's going to help you learn something new. And the Bible says you're going to learn patience and perseverance through pain. I don't like pain. I don't like it. There's nobody here likes it. I'm just telling you that you've got to get through it. And as you persevere, you're going to gain patience. And you're going to grow an inner strength. And believe it or not, if you're really open, you're going to help somebody else get through the same thing you just went through. You need to forgive sometimes. If our pain is partially because of someone else's failures, we need freedom and forgiveness. You know what? I had a wise guy, a friend of mine, who did crazy things to him, say to other people, you have to stop blaming your parents now for what you're going through. I think that's, it's over. It's time for you now to live your life. We got to stop looking backwards, and we need to forgive those people that have hurt us. We got to stop blaming other people. Okay? We need to start forgiving people, and believe it or not, it'll help set you free as you're trying to get over your obstacles and what's bothering you. And I keep saying the same thing. You got to turn to others. Nobody successfully navigates this life alone. I don't care if you're single, you're married. I don't care if you're married. You know what? I suffer from a lack of friends. I'm just confessing that. I don't have enough friends. My wife is my best friend. She's great, by the way. But sometimes, don't I need a friend, right? And so do you. When the hope inside you starts to fade, you need to look for others to build you up. We turn to family. If family's not available, you turn to friends. If friends aren't available, we look for intentional communities around us for support. And I mean medical communities. If you're really suffering, and my pastor just said this in the last week, if you're suffering with something, even if it's kind of depression, go find some help. Don't be alone, okay? Don't be alone. And then you need to share your stories. It might not happen right away. Some failures take longer to get over, but start sharing your stories with other people. Look for opportunities. We call it giving your testimony. Well, share your story. Share it with honesty, humility, and believe it or not, you're going to provide hope to people. You're going to provide strength to people, and you're going to invoke encouragement to someone else, and you're going to influence for the good. But it will begin to make sense, believe it or not. I know this sounds crazy, what that failure was in you. Okay? Failure in the end is instead a necessary part of the journey. You're not going to change. This world, it's messed up. It's a messed up world. You're not going to get out alive, by the way. No joke. And in the meantime, you're going to suffer with something. But you need to find redemption in it. Okay? You need to find redemption. If you need me, again, I need you to call me. I honestly can't say this enough. I care about you. Most of you know I love you. Some of you were gracious enough to care about me when we're through this flat screen. And I care about you through the same medium, but sometimes we need to do more. We need to get on a cell phone because this isn't enough anymore. Texting or instant messaging is not enough. I need to hear you. I need to hear your reality, and I need to begin to minister, and I don't know the word to use, to that reality. Or you need to do the same for me. Relationships are built on communication. And when you're failing or you're having huge obstacles in your life, you cannot be alone. You cannot be alone. So that's pretty much it. So next week we're going to talk about seeking justification. And I will send out, I'll put it on my overcoming obstacles. I'm going to put out an outline for next week to the group. And that's pretty much it. I hope that this has been fruitful. It was a half an hour. I have built in a lot of questions, a lot of time for interaction, and I'm kind of hoping that we get some people to dial into the Zoom. I should say log into the Zoom so I can see your beautiful face. My son looks awesome, by the way. He's in Virginia, so I don't get to see him. But I'm hoping maybe next week, maybe some of you will take the leap. And I'm going to run the Facebook Live, but I can't, to be honest with you, I can't really interact to that. At the same time, I'm doing this on the computer. For some reason, I couldn't get my Facebook Live to talk on my computer. It's pretty weird. I turned everything on, so my phone is talking. So again, I love you, and I will see you next week. And again, if you need me, reach out. Okay, reach out, and we'll talk soon. All right. Blessings on your lives, and hope to hear from you soon. Overcoming obstacles, seeking justification next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay. What do you think?
Good. I want to know what this does. Raise hand. Lower hand.
That means you like have a question.
See, raise hands.
So what I want people to do is, Andrew, what I want people to do on this, okay, I want people to speak.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand, like, it was just me, but you need more people in here. I mean, I was watching the Facebook Live as well. If people can easily just log in Facebook Live, you know how easy it was to do this?
I don't know. I
did it in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They can do it. It's really easy. All you do is copy what you did, copy the